Game 1. EDG already 3-0 in the spring split so far, while JDG a little bit of a slow start going in at 1-1 into this game as the Udyr ban, Talia ban, as well as TF ban coming out for the side of EDG, while JDG is similarly pinching the jungle champion pool with the Olaf Pantheon ban. Followed up with the Orianna ban targeted at Scout. And first pick we have Kaisa coming in along with a answer from Yagao's Zoe as well as Kanavi's Graves. Both champions that we know they are very, very well versed in coming into the 2020 spring split in last year. Of course, they did a fantastic job with those picks. Yagao just actually phenomenal with his Zoe, a very, very, very scary pick for that man. And EDG in a very rapid succession lock in the combo we have all come to know and love for the past what feels like 2 to 3 years now, the Nidalee Renekton combo. Nidalee, of course, opening up potential for AD carry mids like the Lucian, while JDG going for the safer picks in the top lane, going for the tank and opting for some scaling. A very standard JDG team we see over here. For Loken, wouldn't be surprised to see him whoop out the Jin in this game. Of course, Ashe is a champion that he played a lot of in the last year. However, this year Ashe has fallen quite far out of favor. Although, if I'm gonna be honest, I've seen some pretty cool Gale Force Ashe assassinations in my games, but I definitely do not play at such a high level as Leona is banned, and EDG in response banned out the Aphelios because Loken a lot of carry potential with that champion. Of course, with the team that you see right now from JDG, with the Zoe, with the Graves, and of course with the Ornn, you have tons of scaling, tons of protection, tons of frontline, tons of poke. Aphelios would fit in there nice and comfy. A Syndra ban coming out targeting Scout's champion pool yet again, and EDG for their last ban will most likely look to ban a support here. I wouldn't really think they'd ban the Knight AD carry. They could opt to ban the Xayah and see what Loken actually has left in his champion pool. And as we say, look right there, the Xayah ban does come out, and Loken, without further ado, starts hovering his Misfortune pick, another pick, of course, that we know that he can do exceptionally well in. He played it quite a fair bit, I believe, in the spring of 2020, and that pick is locked in as well. Meanwhile, the support and mid lane picks for EDG are soon to be revealed to us. There is a chance, of course, that this is a Renekton mid lane. However, I believe that would be quite unlikely, as Renekton does have a fine time going in against that Ornn, especially with a Nidalee to support him. Looks like EDG, with the set pick, have kill pressure on 2 lanes now, more likely than not. The set Kaisa level 1 all-ins are exceptionally strong, and set with him running Hex Tech, his Hex Flash, will have no qualms about busting his Flash early on, level 1, level 2. And a Rel hover there made me consider the fact that this could be a set mid, in fact, but a set mid would be quite ineffective, and Mako hovering the LeBlanc for Scout, and it's eventually locked in. Over here on the side of Lovemao, what champions will we most likely see him go for? Lovemao, of course, being one of the best bards in the game, could potentially play that champion, opting instead for a Galio hover. Bard won't really fit into this composition, as you don't really want to play around top side, you don't really want to do that much roaming. You kind of want to stay in lane and play around your strong bottom side with the priority you're gonna get, and he blocks in the Galio, wanting to stymie some of the aggression that EDG's bot lane is most definitely going to show in the early levels. Of course, Justice Punch is some Galios opt to go for Justice Punch level 1 in order to proc their aftershocks when the set comes flying in. But I suppose the cooldown is a bit lower, so it's fine for them to do that. And as both teams loading in now, JDG with an obvious scaling composition, while EDG with a much more obvious mid-game power spike and the game kind of early composition. EDG with their initial aggression is going to need to be on point, spot on, and able to just take the game away from JDG, because if it goes for too long, JDG are very, very comfortable with that. Of course, very popular for their 2020 kind of mid to late game antics, where 4 people will suddenly emerge out of the shadows of your own jungle to gank a single person. With that kind of unpredictable, kind of hyper aggressive 4-man roaming pick style, JDG managed to get to the 2nd place of the LPL Summer Playoffs, unfortunately losing in the last game to TES and going into a rather substandard, based on the expectations that were laid on them, a substandard showing in Worlds 2020. However, the past is behind us. The road ahead looks pretty bright for JDG against EDG. EDG, the rising stars right now, going to claim their fame and notoriety that they had going into the 2020 summer playoffs. They won, of course, one of the teams that were expected to make it, one of the most established brands in China. EDG is here to show everybody that last year was a fluke, and this year they'll see everyone else in the World Finals, which, if I'm not mistaken, are being hosted again in China. I think in Shenzhen this time, which is great. Honestly, hopefully travel will be allowed by that time. It will be great to be given the opportunity to travel over there and see what the festivities are like. I would definitely want to experience that one time for myself. And as both teams start loading into the game, we'll probably see a defensive setup here from JDG level 1. Most likely see the same from EDG in the initial levels. Look at the amount of banners actually that are around look at the amount of banners that are around Summoner's Rift for the LPL. Really, every single wall pretty much has a banner. You will never forget if you are one of these champions in the game, which league you're playing in and what is at stake. Look at all those LPL banners. Honestly, I've never noticed this before. Always too focused on the game. But today, ladies and gentlemen, we are focusing on everything. We're going to have a broad overlook. Nidalee starting out in the bottom side, wanting to finish out in the top side to be able to help Flandre. Of course, the Nidalee and Renekton pick of us being such a far out powerful combo for snowballing leads. Set also can do a lot of roam to the mid lane as well as to the top lane, help with the dives with his ultimate, as JJ starts with a small leash in the bottom side. Meanwhile, Kanavi starting with his own leash in the bottom side, wanting to make sure that JJ doesn't play too much of an impact. It doesn't start snowballing Flandre against Zoom too much. And in the early levels, we're going to be watching this bottom lane because, as I said, Mako is likely to just bust his flash at any point in time. Very, very, very able to play aggressive with this set pick. His E also sets up Viper's passive. Viper already getting 4 stacks of passive onto Loken. Unfortunate spacing there from the AD carry of JDG. In the jungle, we see that both of the junglers are finishing up their bottom side as Mako running up towards Love Mao. Love Mao smacking him with his passive, and the E coming out, face breaker, missing Love Mao almost completely. Love Mao deceptively quick for a chicken-clad gargoyle stone statue. As in the mid lane, Yagao just getting a bit of a priority into Scout. Scout able to just trade back with his W as well, proccing a very quick electrocute over there. Yagao opting to go for the electrocute in this matchup instead of the Aerie or the Spellbook. Very interesting here as he expects the short range of Scout to be of advantage to himself, as a little bit of trading going on in the top side. Both junglers are not quite here just yet, clearing out their respective second buffs. And as we see already, the first roam of the game, 3 minutes in, coming in from Mako. Mako with his flash, and JJ in the opposite side as Scout flashes onto Yagao with his chains, gets put to sleep. However, JJ pounces in and secures the kill. Mako even getting a piece of that, and Kanavi arriving just a moment too late to try and save his mid laner from the 3-man aggression of EDG. A very well planned out series of events. Viper recalling in order to buy some items and in order to ensure that he is safe from any counter aggression from the side of the JDG bot lane. A beautiful turn of events over there, if I might say so myself. Meanwhile, in the top side, JJ has already arrived here to help Flandre with this dive. The minion wave is pretty sizable. Zoom is quite low on mana, and the combo is there. The stun into the spear, which is flashed by Zoom, who uses his E to force out Flandre's flash. Flandre realizing that being hit by that is sure death. Flandre going back in, tanking up tower, and getting just enough health from the Triumph as JJ finishes off Zoom. A beautiful tower dive, just enough minions in order to allow them to get some initial damage off, kite back, and then return for the kill to finish up Zoom over there. In the bottom side, JDG have just reset, and the initial aggression most definitely going over to the side of EDG. And of course, this is what we expected to see coming in to this game with the drafts, as Yagao preparing to hit Scout with a Paddle Star, however, missing. Yagao walking up, wanting to ignite Scout most probably. He does have Scout's ignite that was used in order to secure his kill. Love Mao just walking into the middle lane to ensure that nothing bad's going on. Now going off to get some wards out as per his supportive duties. However, I think he may have been spotted out a little bit wards up the top side, sits around to make sure it's safe. Also, because Mako is missing, Mako of course being in the bottom side, having a lot of pressure, still has his flash, so the potential for a mid lane roam is quite high. It is quite hard, however, for Love Mao in order to try and catch out Scout. Scout with his W will be able to just run away from him. Yagao feeling safe and realizing Scout there's barely any mana, has yet to recall, forcing out his recall with a quick combo to the face. Scout without teleport will be missing some minions here as Kanavi clearing out the wolves as JJ is spotted out in the middle lane. Meanwhile, in the bottom side, Viper is just getting his recall off now, which is freeing up Mako to make a roam up into mid lane. However, with Scout recalling, JJ, a little bit of a scuffle going down as she hits a spear on Kanavi, forcing him out of jungle. Don't try and steal my wolfies, says JJ as he just secures that very quickly. Dragon has been up for 40 seconds. Both teams don't seem particularly interested in picking it up. And most likely, EDG will be the ones who are more interested in picking up as JJ making his way up to the top side. A wave has been set up for him to dive with Flandre. However, Kanavi is up there clearing out his Krugs because he realized that Zoom was in a slight bit of trouble. And of course, it's quite obvious with a Nidalee and Renekton combo that the opposite team wants to put a lot of pressure onto your top side as Scout is hit by a sleepy trouble bubble from Yagao. Yagao, in his efforts to push out the lane and pressure Scout, has used up a good chunk of his mana. A coming ping going there on the side of EDG onto the Dragon. Scout with his mana, realizing that he has the advantage and that Yagao will have very little to no mana for this contest, calls his team over. His team in position first is starting up the Dragon. Oh, no, never mind. They're starting up the Scuttle Crab instead to allow for a speedy engage or retreat option. And they will most likely start up this Dragon very, very soon. Both teams without a single member at level 6 as Mako face checks Kanavi into the bush, for Kanavi blasting him with as many shots as he can. JJ just hitting level 6 right out. Now Love Mao at a level 3 is actually positioned very, very dangerously as he's ignited for the Nimbus Cloak move speed. Love Mao running forward at level 3. Actually putting himself in a lot of danger walking forward level 3. Both AD carries are level 5 and his counterpart as the set Mako's set is actually at level 4. Love Mao, I'm not quite sure what's happened in the bottom lane over here. That roam in the middle must have really set him very far behind as Mako has also made a few roams, but Mako has definitely gotten a lot more from it in return. Mako now running up to ensure that his jungler manages to secure this dragon without contestation, but little do they know that Kanavi is in the top side doing his raptors. They're soon to spot him as Love Mao is jumped on by... as Love Mao tries, I think, to jump onto Viper, who manages to scurry away with his E. Kanavi spotted there by the pink ward, looking to invade the second spawn, first blue buff respawn on the side of EDG as the scuffle going out in bot side. Mako actually blocks out the bullet time point blank, just finishes up the rest of Mako's HP, and Viper at full HP, quite low on mana, does have the potential to dive Loken. However, without his ultimate and with such little mana, will most likely go for a safer option. Zoom running into the top side, trying to run away from Flandre. Flandre just picking up the wave there very, very simply. JJ being in the top side means that Zoom needs to be very careful, especially with such a low mana pool, because Flandre can most likely look to slow push the first wave and then fast push the second to create a sizable wave for a gank. Mako also in the top side here as you see what happens in the bottom lane. Level 4, a beautiful flash face breaker onto two people. Love Mao trying to justice punch away, however Mako gets in his way. Unfortunately, Mako being locked up by the escape intended justice punch gets a full round of bullet time to his face, and at a level as a level 5 support without his W set cannot take that. Scout getting traded back here by Yagao, despite having blue buff, is actually being tossed around in lane slightly. CS is relatively even as JDG prepare to contest this flash in there from Flandre, stunning out Kanavi. Kanavi being focused down by the members of EDG as Scout comes in over the wall to finish him out. Zoom is deep in enemy territory, gets smacked by a spear in the back, gets ignited there by Scout, who secures himself a very swift double kill. JDG, I believe they have no reason to be contesting this Rift Herald. You already originally with your team composition, do not beat them so early into the game. 9 minutes in, there's no way you beat them, and they've most definitely been playing the early game well. They've got 2 kills on their jungler, they got 3 assists on their top laner, and 2 kills as well on their mid laner. They have such a sizable item advantage. They even have level advantages in the mid lane as well as the jungle, and most definitely in the bottom lane. As we see here, Scout just going in to finish up Kanavi, who was taken out by Flandre, flashing on him. Just a quick Q, zoom, getting hit by a spear in the back, allowing for Scout to just jump forward with his distortion and use his ignite to secure a very handy and free double kill. Viper in the bot side, keeping pace with Loken, who is, I think, perhaps on even footing with Viper. However, the support level disparity might not be apparent right now with level 5 to level 5, but it is most definitely Love Mao who is very far behind. Mako probably looking to hit level 6 in about a wave or two, while Love Mao might need another wave or two on top of the first two waves. Dragon is spawning in 2 minutes, and Scout with the blue buff advantage. Kanavi actually didn't give Yagao blue buff. I find that kind of surprising, as I think Yagao with his blue buff would most definitely be able to continuously push wave after wave into Scout, effectively just deleting any advantages he may have gotten from having a blue buff. But Yagao, in spite of not having blue buff, manages to push Scout in regardless. So I suppose a calculated step there by Kanavi, realizing that he needed the resources to be able to try and get to a stronger point in order to defend his top laner, who is constantly under pressure whenever Nidalee is not spotted in the map on the map. Zoom feels immense pressure as he may be dove, and especially as Flandre begins setting up big waves continuously, it just creates a very, very hard environment for Zoom to thrive. Zoom, all things considered, doing a phenomenal job. Only about 16 CS down. That's about two waves and some change. As JJ is in the bottom side, however, he has not been spotted out. Zoom will soon breathe a sigh of relief that JDG's bottom lane will not be able to share, as Love Mao is stepping out quite forward. A Loken getting hit by a spear, though he looks so safe amidst his minion wave, and in spite of having the man advantage and the level advantage, to a certain just a slight experience advantage, EDG opt to not go for it, as Scout is hit by a sleepy travel bubble, tries to get as much distance as possible between him and Yagao. However, is used against him, as Yagao's Pale Star just does a little bit more damage. As a result, EDG are split up now in the river, as Love Mao jump into a 1v2 situation, able to tank some damage, uses his ultimate to try and get away, as well as CC up a Mako, who is tossed into the air. Bird time just misses him, as Kanavi manages to finish him off. The Ram is coming in. Flandre is caught in the middle of 5 people, in fact. As EDG positioning slightly too aggressively, I would have thought that they were in a perfectly comfortable position. However, JDG, knowing how to play the game much better than myself, realized that this was a slight overstep. Love Mao jumping into what I thought was also a suicidal position, as JDG's beautiful understanding of the game allows them to secure the second dragon. 12 minutes into the game, 5-3, only about 2k gold lead now in favor of EDG. As I must say, JDG are doing a great job this game, bringing things back. Very proactive plays in spite of being slightly behind, coming in from every member. As we see here, Yagao to start out this fight chunks out Scout slightly, as JJ realizing, this is not a great spot. They split up slightly. Mako caught in the pit, as Love Mao using the blast plant to taunt up JJ, as well as Viper keeping them out of the fight. Mako using his ultimate to bring Kanavi away from his mid laner, and Flandre thinking that there was some fight to be had, using his ultimate, getting slowed by the Make It Rain, and finally knocked up by the Ornn ultimate, is eventually taken down by the rest of JDG. Rift Herald going into the mid lane tower of JDG in order to soften it up. Next Rift Herald, of course, is going to be spawning somewhere in the next 2 minutes, which means that if EDG get it, they can really break open the mid lane and start opening up avenues into JDG's jungle, taking away the safety points of JDG and able to accelerate the game. So far, however, JDG is in a very comfortable position with their scaling, with the potential they have for winning team fights with the MF and the Galio and the Ornn. I think they're quite liking the position they're in. However, EDG, in spite of them being most definitely dominant in the early to mid game, they do have some choices when it comes to late game fighting. They can take some small skirmishes that can eventually lead into a victory in a team fight, as Viper taking damage from the love tap of Loken, doing tons of damage in spite of not having a mythic item. And I think the first mythic item of the game was definitely completed on the side of JJ there. However, Kanavi doing a great job bringing one in too as well. In the top side, Flandre most definitely enjoying his time, having a relatively free lane against Zoom, who also, in spite of getting some early attention, towards his side is doing a fantastic job, just keeping it together, just playing for the late game, playing for his team. And pings coming out on the bottom side as EDG are recalling, perhaps preparing to set up for this Rift Herald, which is going to be spawning in under a minute's time. Viper heading back to the bot lane, showing not very much interest in that as Flandre pops Dominus. Yagao not realizing there's a big crocodile behind him, hits him with the CP Trouble, however, is hit by the stun in return. Both laners just trading their CCs and both walking out. However, Scout looking to cancel Yagao's back with a Q. Yagao with very little mana and again no blue buff will not be able to stay and contest the priority, leaving Rift Herald very much open to being claimed by the members of EDG. However, with the rotation of JDG's bot lane actually is faster than EDG's, as Viper was seemingly more interested in securing that bot lane farm than attempting a Rift Herald take. In fact, JDG is in position first. Viper looking to just trade down the bottom side tower, taking the first tower of the game. First tower gold, of course, a nice little boost of gold. And going on to Viper, that is one of EDG's win conditions, able to dive in and play with his team, able to fight small skirmishes. Back to what I was saying about small skirmishes, by the way, is that Viper actually opting to go for the Kraken Slayer as opposed to the Gale Force. I honestly thought, given that they were a mid-game power spiking team composition, Gale Force would be the play here. You just ultimate in, use the Gale Force for damage, for mobility, to get you away from the Galio, to keep you away from the Sleepy Trouble Bubbles, as well as get you out of the bullet times a little bit quicker. Can also dodge out a collateral damage, as looks like mid lane EDG's tier 1 mid tower is about to be taken out by Rift Herald and by the siege potential of JDG. Zoe, of course, providing great amounts of pressure with her poke from over walls and distances that cannot be calculated. And just like that, JDG resetting now for a dragon that is spawning in 50 seconds. Flandre pressuring up the top side as Zoom arrives as well. No teleport on either of these champions as Zoom face plants into a wall without managing to clip Flandre. Flandre just stacking up his Conqueror, looking to have a long drawn out fight. So, back to skirmishes. I am so sorry, ladies and gentlemen. I keep on getting my mind distracted by something that's going on the map. Pretty action-packed game, 17 minutes in. So, JDG just want to have a straight front to back team fight. Meanwhile, on the side of EDG, if they manage to break up the fight into little skirmishes, they may have a higher chance of winning those little skirmishes, as every member of their team does tons of damage, honestly, even down to their support, who at this point, even though he is falling off slightly in terms of damage, will provide a great amount of CC as well as disruption with his ultimate as well as his face breaker. Now, Dragon spawning in 8 seconds as the vision wall begins in the bottom side of JDG. JJ with his poke as well as healing can help to Mako actually taking some damage, however baiting out the bullet time as Galio ultimate comes out to try and save Kanavi, who was jumped on by Scout. Flandre jumping in with his Dominus, however is tossed around by the members of Love Mao and Zoom. However, that might be enough for EDG to secure the third dragon of the game. An Infernal Soul is the soul that is coming out in this game as the members of JDG disperse all over the map, trying to secure as many resources as possible to ensure that they can better contest the fourth dragon of the game and make it their second. Kanavi, after finishing up Scuttlecrab, walking into the jungle where Scout was waiting in the bush, using his mobility to get him to safety. Kanavi, very greedy attempt here on the Grump as Mako turns the corner, bringing Kanavi into JJ, as well as Scout coming in to finish up the kill. Viper was just around the corner as well, looking to be a part of that kill. Zoom now with an item and a half, able to better contest Flandre for the waves. However, Flandre is really just done with playing the lanes pretty much. He's just here to provide some split potential as well as get some farm for himself. Zoom now at level 12 is soon able to upgrade his item. See Kanavi, we saw Love Mao leave the lane to go and protect Yagao, so there's no reason for him to be here. He puts himself in a 1v3 situation with Love Mao not having ultimate, because he used it in the prior fight to try and save him, actually successfully saving him from the onslaught of Scout. Scout actually doing a phenomenal job this game, applying tons of pressure, actually doing so much damage to the Graves and the squishy members of the team. Even Love Mao, without really any items at the moment, is susceptible to being exploded by Scout. Of course, Love Mao does have the passive magic shield of the W, However, I don't think that's going to save him for long as the items begin to roll in for Scout, looking to be finishing up, looking to have a Void Staff or maybe even a Morelos. More likely not a Void Staff, however, as Dragon Baron spawns into the Rift for the first time this game. JDG looked kind of in position to try and contest it or to try and just clear out some vision while Scout clears out the top side. Flandre, having pushed in bottom side, is coming in. Zoom going to be a little bit late on the rotations as he's collecting bot farm now. Does have teleport, however, and can most definitely join a fight at a moment's notice. As the Baron dance along with the Vision dance begin, Flandre clearing out another ward in the bottom side, however getting collapsed on by 3 members, getting a good distance away. Loken with his Gale Force jumping in onto Viper, however not being able to do just enough damage to take it out. Had the bullet time available, however did not see fit to use it, and this is why I was kind of surprised by the Kraken Slayer. Kraken Slayer, kind of a late game, as Love Mao is actually hit by a spear, I believe, chunking him to a fair amount of HP. EDG are definitely in position. One of the things, however, that I could say about this Kraken Slayer is that it helps you do Baron a lot faster. It definitely helps you shred the Ornn a lot faster. And will most definitely help you take apart and dismantle the Galio a bit faster. As today, JJ is just being a sniper as always on this Nidalee, hitting key spears, really just chunking out the squishy members of JDG, even not so squishy members like that Galio. So I must say that the Kraken Slayer tells me that EDG, in spite of being a more early to mid game composition, want to do some team fighting. They want to look to take the game a little bit later than I would personally have expected. But these are pros and they know exactly what they are doing. Never have a doubt, especially EDG showing such great form this season so far, as Mako and Love Mao just putting down wards and trading down vision and pretty much giving each other gold as good supports do, because you realize that both of their roles don't get much love, so they need to share the love amongst themselves. Pings going out onto the blue buff of JDG, and here's the thing about poke champions, like Nidalee can be potentially considered it, I suppose, but more for the side of Yagao, as we see EDG preparing to make an invade here. As we've seen for so many times today already, Yagao has always been low on mana because he really hasn't had a blue buff. The first few were given to Kanavi, and if EDG managed to take these blue buffs, these following blue buffs, they managed to deny infinite mana to the side of Yagao, who cannot just use his Q along with his ultimate as well as his Sleepy Trouble Bubbles to look for picks to deal tons of damage. Realizing this, JDG preparing to come into position to defend it as, Scout taking tons of damage, forced the flash away from the bullet time as he is knocked up by the Ram, nearly taken out, Ignite, ticking down. A beautiful collateral damage, taking him out, finishing up as Yagao jumping in to chunk out the remaining 3 members of EDG. Dragon spawning in 20 seconds and blue buff successfully defended. JDG, come claim your prizes. A beautiful taunt and knockup there by Love Mao onto Scout, managing to keep Scout in position for long enough for Loken to just come in, fire off a few shots as well as his double tap, love tap, and finish him up with a few ticks of his ultimate. Scout there having to use his flash was not enough, as the long range poke coming out from JDG is truly displaying itself as, hey, surprisingly actually, I'm quite surprised here by the pick of Yaga, as we see here a taunt into Scout into a Justice Punch, keeping him in position long enough. Loken even using the Gale Force to get into a better position as well as to deal some damage, as we see Kanavi in the backline using his Gale Force to close the distance and firing off the collateral damage, and in Yagao with just a last bit of damage at the end of the fight there, just finishing up and polishing his damage stats. Loken getting jumped on there by Scout, not very happy with what Loken did. Love Mao being jumped on there by Scout. Scout not so happy with the way Love Mao treated him in the last fight. As the game must go on, the show must go on, and business as usual. Scout getting his own blue buff, and both teams preparing for the Baron dance. Flandre already in the bottom side, pushing out the wave, while Zoom is actually nowhere to be found except in the bottom side jungle of JDG. Infernal Dragon actually allows for such an easy time invading, so much of an easier time invading the jungle, as Love Mao jumping forward to try and taunt in order to chase enemies away. Beautiful damage coming in there by JJ. Kanavi going aggressive onto Scout using his red smite, however not getting very much damage onto him. aside from that, so far JJ has been a true killer with these spears, hitting them on key squishy targets in the mid lane. We saw that, and providing a great amount of healing towards his own team. That being said, JJ not looking to be a particularly heal-centric Nidalee in this point in time, with his Night Harvester as well as his Zonias, looking to jump in, pounce on squishy members, and take them out for the count. Go for the jugular, as you could say. Again, EDG, there's no point building particularly utility-focused or particularly defensive from now on, because you're going to want to take these skirmish fights. You want to try and break up the fights as much as possible, not allow members of JDG a front-to-back situation. If Mako gets a nice flank off onto the enemy team, or something happens like Flandre standing between the tanks as well as the squishy members, as the Ornhorn coming out now, knocking out Flandre in the front line. Mako taking tons of damage as well, using his W, however is finished off by the bullet time. Flandre barely managing to dash out of it, as Loken flashing in order to try and finish up. Zoom flashing as well, Kanavi jumping in as well. Luvmao going for Scout, who jumps over the wall. Yagao flashing over the wall to try and finish up Scout, realizing who he is. Scout hit by that sleepy trouble bubble, will most definitely be taken down, and a beautiful engage coming in there by the members of JDG, who are kiting back now in order to secure the Baron. This is most definitely a free Baron, as Mako and Flandre tanking out as much damage as they could. And that's what happens if JDG get to dictate the pace of the game, if they get to decide what kind of fight happens. That is what we can expect going on. JJ is alive, has his poke, will be able to squishy up the members of JDG as a spear comes flying in, smacking Kanavi in the face. JJ in the pit manages to steal the Baron. Baron goes over to the side of JJ, playing a phenomenal game as Loken running forward onto Flandre and Viper, feeling immortal, I was going to say, as Loken nearly face check into a third member of EDG. EDG not too happy with what happened over there. A beautiful steal when nothing else was on the table. JJ goes all in, plays his cards, and runs away with a free Baron. Thanks for the leash, buddies, as a beautiful ultimate here, splitting up EDG. In fact, as Mako takes tons of damage on the side there. Bullet time ringing out to 3 members, zoning Viper from the fight as well. Flandre trying to dash out as best he can, forcing out the flashes from Kanavi, Zoom, and Loken, and Scout jumping in to try and assassinate Loken. However, Luvmao, realizing what is happening, goes for him instead, and Yagao looking to assassinate the assassin in order to keep his AD carry safe and to ensure a bit of safety to him too. JJ failing his jump, however, flashing in, using his pounce as well as his Q in order, syncing it with his smite in order to secure that. A beautiful turn of events. Might not have started out so great for EDG, but the ends most definitely do justify the means. Now, however, all things considered, EDG, it all depends on what they can get from this, as Yagao jumping forward gets a sleepy trouble bubble onto Viper, however is traded back with a spear in the face. Oh, bullet time coming out to make Viper a little bit more squishy, as Kanavi coming in with the sniping shotgun of collateral damage, finishing out Viper. There really wasn't much he could do there, playing it to the best of his ability. I suppose Gale Force would have most definitely helped him survive that fight. However, there's no point looking into the past, as in spite not having the Baron buff, if they had Baron buff, this might be an over game, as Yagao getting damage onto Scout, chunking him into half. JJ does have a heal, however, that he can use to start bringing Scout back to full HP. Being so close to the fountain, however, I do not think that's necessary, as the first inhibitor of the game goes down, with Flandre pushing up the top side, JDG rotating to Dragon, spawning in the next second, as Flandre is looking to recall now. Perhaps the members of EDG, no, there's no way that they can look for this contest, as they will just go down way too quickly. Beijing's JDG is now at a sole point, ladies and gentlemen. So whoever engages the fight first kind of wins pretty much, because JDG will get to engage at a front-to-back kind of style, while the skirmish style of see, a beautiful sleepy trouble bubble gets hit over there. A Gale Force into position by Loken to try and make Viper just a little bit more squishy, and then the mobility of these Gale Forces, honestly, is just being so utilized to such a good extent here by the members of JDG. Both Kanavi as well as Loken using them to get into the perfect positions for their ultimate, fight after fight, time after time, even using them to try and go for some assassination attempts. The Chinese sniper that is technically a Korean import, that is Kanavi, showing off why this Graves pick was one of his most picked champions going into the 2020 season. Now, with no objectives on the map and Baron having run out, JDG are looking to siege up the top side. A lot of towers still up for the side of EDG, which means that JDG has a lot of gold that they can cash in on. JJ spotted out by the Make It Rain of Loken, who's walking with impunity into the jungle of EDG. All things considered, he was in a slightly precarious position, although he was flanked by many members of his team. Flandre pushing out the bottom side, looking to just pressure JDG into forcing a fight that is disadvantageous to them. Does not have teleport, however, and is instead channeling his recall to try and team up with his team. Zoom being forced to recall in order to answer the push of Flandre in order to make sure that not too much is lost. This is a good time for the members of EDG to perhaps look for a fight. However, Viper being in the bottom side, securing himself the red buff means that the second tower top lane for members of EDG is taken out. And we see here EDG just looking to pick up as much farm as possible. They need the items, and then they need to look for a good fight. They need to look for a fight in a situation that is advantageous towards them, as the Ornn items come rolling into the pockets of JDG. 3 already constructed. Zoom with his level 17 just hit, I think, is about to upgrade Love Mao's Locket. And while things are looking pretty dire here for the side of EDG, in spite of them having a gold lead for the good majority of this game, there is a chance for EDG to win this. They just need the right fight at the right time. And as the game goes on later and later and later, EDG, they do have a higher and higher chance of taking the game should a fight go in their favor. All they need to do really is to take out Loken and take out Kanavi and maybe take out Yagao. And that's pretty much the fight. Viper surviving also is quite key to that. So you just send a scout at one of the squishies. Hopefully he insta blows them up. And then Mako CCs everybody in so that Flandre can jump in with his God Drinker and his Q, as well as the Dominus ticks in order to get tons of damage out onto the rest of the team. It's not going to be easy, but it's most definitely possible. Both teams just pretty much dancing around there as Baron is spawning in 30 seconds, and that's going to be the next point of contestation in this map. Loken walking forward, clearing out the waves. Kanavi now with his Bloodthirster is going to be a little bit harder to assassinate for Scout with the extra bit of healing as well as lifesteal he gets if he trades back some damage. Love Mao stepping forward pretty far. Flandre, as usual, in the bottom side, creating pressure for his team, using that God Drinker to clear out waves, as the last upgrade available for Zoom is given out now to Love Mao. Everyone has got their new gear. Everybody is ready to step forward and show it, as Loken, more anxious than anyone else, jumps forward onto JJ, who's hit by a Sleepy Trouble Bubble in the backside of that. JDG realizing that that little bit of poke is good enough for them to come start up Baron. Loken doing tons of damage all together, as well as Zoom able to just tank it up. Scout is in the backlines, however, but Love Mao positioning himself a little bit far away from his team, is engaged upon by Mako. Flandre running in with his Dominus, with the teleport, using his God Drink in the middle of the fight. Loken is taken really low. Flandre flashes on him. The Scanner ultimate is cancelled. Bullet time is channeled in front of Flandre, but here comes Scout flashing in to finish up Loken, and Flandre is still in the backline, tanking up all the damage that JDG has tried to throw at him. A beautiful stopwatch there, buying plenty of time, allowing Scout to get into position to flash and finish off Loken. And that exactly, ladies and gentlemen, is what I was talking about. You just need a good fight. You just need to make a pick. Mako, beautiful pick there on Love Mao, was dismantled before his team could come and save him. And then Scout with the flanks, as well as Flandre with his own teleport flanks, running in faster than a crocodile. You would expect a crocodile to be able to make it. Mako is just trying to stop Yagao, who is in a 1v2 situation, managing to chunk out Scout, forcing Scout to take his distortion back to where he was. Mako just chasing Yagao away from his teammates, trying to kill him, actually getting the better of him here, as Love Mao is trying his best, is doing his darndest to try and keep the members of EDG off the Nexus, but alas, all will be for naught, as EDG, just as quickly as you can imagine, steal the game from the clutches of JDG. We saw here in this game, ladies and gentlemen, the Baron area, the Baron calls may require a slight bit of work there on the side of JDG. Having two pretty colossal throws. The first being the Baron steal, beautifully done by JJ, but honestly just gifted to him. It was more that JDG allowed him to do it rather than he did it anything particularly well. And then in the second round, Love Mao being terribly out of position, not able to peel for his AD carry, and then Flanger with a beautiful flank from the left, Scout with a beautiful flank from the right, and just like that, all is history. Game 1 goes over to EDG. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for watching, and I cannot wait to bring you Game 2 of JDG versus EDG in the coming days. Thank you so much, and we will see ya next time.